Well, my name is Ayman. I am a teacher of English. I used to work in the United Arab Emirates. I worked there for like 6 years or so. And today I'm presenting my research. It's about formulaic language and lexical bundles. That's a corpus-based study. Um, as you can see here, the title is Lexical Bundles in University First Year Economics Textbook. It has nothing to do with the economics. It's more about language. And the reason I chose economics and business is because the majority of EAP students in Ontario and Canada are studying economics. Okay, so the second slide here is the agenda, the overview. I'll start with introducing my research. My formulaic language and lexical bundles. And then the gap in the research and my research question, methodology results, limitations and implications. What is formulaic language? Formulaic language. This is a term that's an umbrella term that covers different types of prefabricated expressions and word strings. David Wood in 2006 defines it as fixed combinations of words that have a range of functions and uses in speech production and communication, and seems to be cognitively stored and retrieved by speakers as if they were single words. We're talking here about word strings, word combination, an expression that contains several words, and we use them to serve one function. So if we say, for example, good morning, that's two words. That's a chunk, one chunk, and it serves one purpose or one function. And this exists in all languages. I have here two examples from Latin, alia jacta est, etc. and c'est la vie in French, and it is what it is in English, and inshallah in Arabic. That's which is three words, but we just contract them, and this is one of the characteristics of formulaic language. The more we use them, the more we contract them, and they sound like one chunk. Okay, formulaic language forms 75 to 80% of language, and some researchers even say that it serves more than that. So the idea is that if we want learners to learn language very quickly, we need to teach them those expressions. So they would sound more native-like. They would be more proficient in language, and also it frees some cognitive space for other things to do, for focusing on ideas and meanings and stuff like that. Formulaic language has different types. It ranges from very strict and very fixed expressions like idioms and idiomatic expressions, like, for example, speak of the devil or hold your horses. And this very fixed category has some characteristics, and they are semantically opaque. You can't understand them. It's non-compositional. You can't understand them from the components of the expression. For example, hold your horses has nothing to do with horses. That means control yourself. But that's an idiomatic expression. And also we have fixed phrases and proverbs like good morning, have a nice day, or actions speak louder than words. Those also are fixed expressions, and they have formulicity, or they are used for as one chunk to serve one purpose. And we also have part of the formulaic language. We have the collocations, like take a break or make a mistake. That's part of formulaic language. all those examples are continuous expressions. They are stuck together, but sometimes we have discontinuous expressions, like there are fillable slots in the middle. If we say, for example, not only but also, there is a fillable slot in the middle. Okay, and then we have lexical bundles, which is the focus of my study. Um, for example, we say in case of, as a result of, more likely to. These are compositional and they are semantically transparent. You can see them, you can understand them from their components. Okay. Um, the way I picture this is the idioms is the uh, smallest group of formulaic sequences. Um, I mean, in number. And lexical bundles are the biggest group in formulaic language. The idioms are very clear. Lexical bundles are not very salient. You cannot easily find them in text. You need to have the eye for them. And the way I picture them is like the flashlight effect here. Idioms to the left. Idioms are a small group, but they're very clear. And lexical bundles to the other end are a big group, but they're not easy to identify. Okay. Uh, any questions so far? Okay. Then the lexical bundles. What are the lexical bundles? Lexical bundles are combinations of words that contain 3 or more words, and they are, as I said, that they are the biggest group in formulaic language, formulaic sequences. They are the most frequent multi-word sequences, and they exist in natural corpus. And they serve, that's their main purpose. They serve pragmatic functions in discourse. For example, they explain relationships between phrases, like the one before and the one after them. They serve other functions like discourse organizers or referential expressions and stuff like that. Lexical bundles are defined by David Wood in 2015 as they have typically been defined as combinations of 3 or more words, which are identified in a corpus of natural language by means of corpus analysis software programs, identified using a specific frequency cutoff. I'll explain everything. And present in a particular range of text, present in a particular range of text within the corpus. In order to consider something a lexical bundle, there has to be some conditions. The first one is that there are 3 or more words. They serve a pragmatic function and they have a frequency. The idea of frequency is that you can find them in several times. They are frequent, and the range, the second one here. Okay, um, that's that means it is present in different texts. So, for example, if we have 10 books, and we say that this specific lexical bundle has a range of 7. That means 7 out of those 10 books. Okay, and it has to serve a function. So these are the conditions. The last one, and of course, it has to be 3 or more words. What are the pragmatic functions? Biber, Italian, in 2004 had the taxonomy of the functional taxonomy for the lexical bundles. They said that we have stance expressions, which is epistemic and attitudinal expressions. Epistemic is something like when you say I want to talk to, I want to talk about. Sorry, I don't know if. That's epistemic. It relates to knowledge, and I don't think so. That's attitudinal. And the second type is discourse organizers, such as topic introduction or focus. When you introduce topic, like saying, today I'm going to talk about lexical bundles. That's I'm introducing the topic here. And also topic elaboration, which is something like this has to do with that thing. So that's topic elaboration or clarification. And then we have the referential expressions, like identification or focus. Here, the referential expressions refer to something. The first one, identification or focus, when you say one of this group, so you're referring to that person. And the second subcategory is imprecision, when you say and stuff like that. So and stuff like that. That's a four-word combination. And so on. That's a three-word combination. That's imprecision. And the third one is specification of attributes. That refers to something like the quantity, something like the tangible framing or intangible framing. When we talk about the quantity, we say things like a lot of the. That's quantity. That refers to the quantity. And in tangible framing, for example, we say the size of like the size of the car or the size of the room. That's tangible framing. And when we talk about intangible framing, we say things like the way in which. All these are lexical bundles. And the last subcategory in referential is the place, time, and text reference or text dixes. The place, something like when you say in the middle of the room, for example, in the middle of here refers to a place, or we can say the second one is time, in the time of, sorry, at the time of, something. That's a referential bundle. And for text, dix is when we say things like as shown in figure 1. So you refer to something in the text itself. Okay, so these are the three main categories. And Barbarital also say that there's one subcategory here in the referential, which is multifunctional, like the in the middle of, that can serve a time or a place, in the middle of the room or in the middle of the night. So what is corpus linguistics? A corpus is simply a text, a collection of texts. We use this big collection of texts to study language. So in my case here, I collected 8 different books and I put them all in a text, and I use the software to look for lexical bundles. So a corpus is a text. Corpus linguistics is what we use for to study texts. Okay. It has been defined by several researchers, and the last one that I have here is in 2017 by Yukifa et al. Principled collection of electronic texts, usually stored on a computer, available for qualitative and quantitative analysis. And this is what I did in this study. Okay, there are different types of corpora, specialized corpora. You can use it for one specific branch of knowledge, and general corpora, like the ones we have for like spoken corpora. There is one called COCA, that's contemporary American corpus. That's general. They collect texts from different avenues, like people's chat in a cafe, or newspapers or stuff, or the news, the TV. That's a general corpora. When we say specialized corpora, we focus on one avenue, like we can create a corpora, a specialized corpora for our students only, like in grade 3 writing, for example. Uh, and we have comparable corpora. We can create two different corpora and compare, like, for example, at the Faculty of Education, we have students in year 1 and students in year 4, and we can compare their writing. And there are different types. What I'm concerned here, what I looked at here is the specialized corpora, and that's the corpus I created here. Okay, so the gap. I'm not sure this will interest many people here, but there's a gap in research. We have international students in Ontario, Canada here, and Ontario is getting like 40% of the international students. I mean, before the COVID-19 situation, Ontario got like 40% of the students, of the international students, and these students go to EAP, English for Academic Purposes classes, and they need the help that addresses their needs. And there was most of them study business and economics, but there is no corpus for that. So that was a gap in the research. So I created that corpus, which looked at the economics textbooks in order to find the lexical bundles that are most commonly used in those in those in this branch of knowledge, like the economics and business. So I can help them with that. So my audience was the EAP students, first year students, because these are the people who need help the most. And I looked at the AAP curriculum and in universities, and business was the first choice. Anyway, so the research questions. The first one was, what are the most frequent lexical bundles in first year economics textbooks that are used in Canadian universities? And the second one is, what functions do these lexical bundles serve? So the methodology was choice of setting. I chose Ontario. Choice of textbooks. I looked at the universities in Ontario and across Canada and also around the world. And I found 8 specific books that are they're considered foundational. Okay, and then I chose the text analysis software. That's it's called Wordsmith Tools. That's a very good one. And then I chose the LB's, the lexical bundles identification criteria. Okay. Now, using those 8 foundational textbooks, I created the first year economics textbooks corpus, FYETC, that contained 1,346 plus words, and I use Wordsmith tools. The identification criteria of lexical bundles, as I said, we have 3: frequency, range, and function. The frequency cutoff was 40 occurrences per million. So in order to consider a combination of words, a lexical bundle has to be frequent. That's 40 occurrences per million words. And the range, I used, there's several like suggestions, but one of them is 10% of the total number of the text. And the last one is the function, the functional I used the functional taxonomy. And I ended up with a list of 65 lexical bundles that are commonly used in economics textbooks, in these 8 textbooks. That was the quantitative part of it, and then I consulted expert judges, which were students of masters in applied. They have masters in applied linguistics, and some of them had PhDs, and they had adequate knowledge of lexical bundles, and plus, of course, my thesis supervisor. What I found here, the results. The stand bundles, remember the stand bundle, epistemic and attitudinal, they formed only like 9% of the lexical bundles that are there in 1,300,000 plus words, and the discourse organizers were only like 27%, and the referential bundles were 64% of the LBs, the lexical bundles. The biggest one here, the referential bundles, I looked at the specifics of it, and I found that the specifications of attributes were the biggest one, 70 bundles. And then the quantity was the biggest one of them. So quantity got like 54 lexical bundles. And this is how it looks on a graph. The quantity was by far the biggest group, like 32% of all the bundles that are in the economics. I don't know if this has something to do with the field, like economics, talking about money and quantities, and this needed to be like compared with other fields. I mean, if it was like law or something, we could have epistemic lexical bundles higher than the quantity. I don't know. So as I said, the results, we had the epistemic stances. These are the most common lexical bundles in the study. Do you think, or more likely to, the attitudinal was are willing to, or suppose that it would be able to. For the discourse organizers, we had topic introduction to work problems, and for topic elaboration, the relationship between referential expressions. We had identification. There is one of the, some of the imprecision was, and so on. Specifications of attributes. We had an increase in the size of the in the long run. Place and time and text was in the market in the future, shown by the end of the. So what does this have to do with us as teachers in classrooms? These are expressions. They are already made. They're prefabricated expressions. I believe if we teach expressions like these to students, they will first, they will feel like they can produce longer strings of words. They would gain confidence in their language, and also they would sound more proficient to other people, which will reflect on which will promote their communication with others. Okay, and this is something that I found interesting in the study. Like there is that had many functions. The most frequent quantity, maybe because of economics. The least frequent one was personal epistemic. Do you think, and so on. Everyday LBs were not very frequent in that corpus. It is possible. I thought that that it is possible and is based on we're gonna have more frequency than that, but it didn't show. I don't know why. And there are discipline specific, which is a very important thing to notice. every corpus you create is discipline specific. If you create something in economics, it will show something. It will show specific lexical bundles. If you create another, for example, for education, you will have um, different types of lexical bundles. For example, in this one, in this corpus, I found in monopolistic competition in global economy. These are economic terms, economic bundles. And there is also last one was high frequency plus low range, a closer look at markets and foreign exchange. That's high frequency but low range, which indicates that this is an idiolect for one writer out of the 8 books. If it has high frequency, low range. Low range means that like not so many people use it, but there is high frequency. That means someone uses it like very, very, very frequently. Okay, and sorry. This relates to the research itself. Biber et al. Used the data they had to create the taxonomy, but we have to create the taxonomy. So if our data like uh, matches their data, we'll have the same categories. But the last line here somehow confusing. When we have different data, that means this taxonomy needs to be updated. And sorry, we can suggest more categories to the taxonomy, like value, for example, conditional. If this happens, in the case of when the price is, these are suggested categories for a new taxonomy. If anyone is interested in creating the taxonomy, functional taxonomy for the lexical bundles. And then the limitations, it's only 8 books. I know it's 1 million words, but which gives the gives us the chance to generalize the results, but it's still 8 books. That means 8 authors, which means it's restricted to their idiolect. And no congruence. I didn't look for discontinuous lexical bundles. And implications, which is the most important part, I think. For researchers, we can compare corpora and evaluate AAP textbooks and materials. Some companies bring us textbooks and they claim that this is the best one, but we can run this quick search for lexical bundles in formulaic language. If they contain a high percentage of formulaic language and lexical bundles, that means they are native-like. And if not, that means their language is not like natural language. They are like, how do you say it? I'm sorry, it's 2 a.m. So anyway, so for students, they can improve their writing by getting to know more about lexical bundles and their functions, how to start, how to introduce a topic, how to start, how to elaborate, how to show relationships between phrases, different phrases, and to be familiar with the discipline, because they are, as I said, they are discipline specific. So they talk about. The more you focus on the formulaic language, formulaic sequences and lexical bundles in your field, the more you sound proficient. And for educators as well, it can help with curriculum developing and source of discipline-specific language, okay, and assess students' writing. So that was it. Thank you.